I'll start it, so I'm going to repeat myself. All right. So anyway, let's do an audio check here. And I'm just getting, all right. So now we're ready. So again, we do a Come Follow Me curriculum here live every morning at 7:30 a.m. Sometimes maybe a little bit earlier, a lot earlier because my work requires it. I love doing the gospel. I love the gospel. The difference between those who are on TikTok and those who are on YouTube will be that I'll be sharing the screen on YouTube. So again, if you want to join me on YouTube, it's the YouTube channel is called For the Love of God. I I love again every morning I come and share with you my thoughts and analysis of the curriculum that has been afforded to us today. We are dealing with the uh, oh what a just speak my mind here. Excuse me. What a wonderful conference we had. It's wonderful to see our prophet be able to deliver a message yesterday on Sunday and encouraging words from many of the speakers. But none of them really touched me as much as Jeffrey R. Holland's message that he delivered. I'm still impacted by that message he shared. Such a heartwarming. Uh, uh, I was just and somebody wanted to tear down his testimony by reminding me that somehow, Rob T, this is for you. Somehow that because Jeffrey Holland talked about uh, the financial aid, or the financial assistance that we gave to Prop 8 in 2000, whatever that was, in California, and that Jeffrey R. Holland in a question and answer uh, uh, forum at Harvard had said that the church did not contribute to the as an institute did not contribute um, to the cause. And I think there's what would you say semantics there. I think he used some lingo that he could use to separate what the church did compared to what there's the business part of the church that deals with one part of the organization, and then there's the ministry part of the church, and the ministry does not contribute to any uh, organization outside of those things that are charities and needs of others. The business part of the church uh, does deal with maybe some political settings. I don't know. Well, however he said, if you want to say that he lied, well, I want to tell you this. So did Peter. All right. So if you're going to, or so did David. All right. All these men were not perfect men. So I believe that uh, Brother Holland was speaking the truth when he said that the Institute of the church did not contribute to Prop 8. I trust that. But if he did speak in error or did lie, just like Peter lied about knowing Jesus Christ, or continued to have this attitude that if he was caught with the Gentiles, that he would feel, that, and then saying, oh, I had nothing there, you know. Again, men are fallible, all right? We're self-preservation, is that what it's called. But his testimony, Jeffrey Holland's testimony, was enlightening and so powerful about the Book of Mormon and about the experience of this young child. And why would we disparage such a testimony? Because it, what would you say, if we even thought there was any real truth in his words, then we'd have to deal with it. You know what I mean? As a human being, you don't want to deal with things that are going to uh, take you away from the world lifestyle that you want. And like I said, it's just again, it was a very powerful testimony they gave. It just overwhelmed everybody else in the conference. I didn't get a chance to watch it all, but I'll watch them over time. But anyway, so the Come Follow Me curriculum today is called Lift Up Your Voices to Declare My Gospel. And yes, I don't proselyte, but because I put these things online, it's a natural extension of proselyting. But I love just spreading the gospel that are I just love sharing the gospel with so many because it's to help people's lives in such a meaningful way. And I'm hoping and praying that I can help others on their journeys just as much as I've been helped. And again, that's why I do what I do here. But anyway, let's go. Let's talk about again. If you want to watch me on YouTube, then you'll see the screen that I'm sharing. It's For the Love of God network. If you want to check me out there on YouTube. Also share this video, like this video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification, and let's get started here. It says Parley P. Pratt had been a member of the church for about a month when he was called into the wilderness. Oh, nice. Can you imagine that? Hey, you've been here for a month, you're ready to go. You know, you're now in today's world, you can't go on a mission unless you've been in the church for a year. But they called Parley P. Pratt to mission, being on a mission, and after being there for a month. All right. So this was a man who eventually gets murdered by some people in Arkansas, and there's some controversy there why he got murdered, but he did. He was down there doing the work of the Lord, and somehow he got accused of something, and again, somebody murdered him. But anyway, so these men that were joining the church were giving up a lot. All right, their families, the time with their family, the work they had to do in the fields or whatever the occupation they had, all the money they had, like Brother Tanner. So many of these people gave so much to say to help us be convinced of the fact that the restoration did happen through the prophet Joseph Smith. And that, see, it says in Doctrine and Covenants 32:2, it says, and that which I have appointed unto him is that he shall go with my servant Oliver Cowdery, Peter Whitmer Jr. into the wilderness of the Lamanites. So Parley P. Pratt and Peter Whitmer Jr. and Oliver Cowdery go into the wilderness to proselyte to the Native Americans, basically, to the Lamanites. And this is in the wilderness, all right? They have, no provisions, all right? So many of people from Pakistan, let me tell you, these stories are important for you to know because I have a lot of people from Pakistan. If you want something bad enough, you're going to have to do some work. It cannot be given to you easy. Nothing is easy that is of the Lord. These people gave all that they had. They didn't have the nice accommodations of having houses every 10 feet or so to be housed in or be covered. They lived on the plains. They were barely they had to sleep in various tents or whatever they had for months on end and maybe years. So again, if you want it bad enough, you're going to have to go get it, and you're going to have to put it out. You're going to have to labor hard. All right. So anyway, and it says Thomas B. Marsh had been a member for even less time than that when he was told, "The hour of your mission is come." Wow. Doctrine and Covenants 31:3 says, "Lift up your heart and rejoice, for the hour of your come, oh, my face is in the way of the scriptures. Lift up your heart and rejoice, for the hour of your mission is come, and your tongue shall be loosed, and you shall declare glad tidings of great joy unto this generation. All right. So they just, these, I'm sure that these men, Parley P. Pratt, I know that, and was a very educated man, and I'm sure Thomas Marsh is probably one of those educated men. They knew the gospel quite well. Uh, so it wasn't something that they could not go out and do and preach the gospel. They knew two things that was important for the ministry: that Joseph Smith was a prophet of God, and the Book of Mormon was the Word of God. All right, and they had, even after a month, they could not go out and be effective missionaries because they had two things that were essential to gather the saints uh, to the uh, to the restored church. Of course, Jesus Christ was always the message, and his redemption. That's the first thing that they were trying to help people understand, that Jesus Christ is the Redeemer, and that he had restored his church through the prophet Joseph Smith, and that the prophet Joseph Smith had a second witness to the Bible that they declared was the Word of God. So it was kind of simple for them to go out and say these things. But there was people out there like Sidney Rigdon and others who were pastors that had their own ministry, and so they had to deal with a lot of people that were already educated in many of the and much of the Bible. And so this wasn't easy work that they were doing, but there was a lot of people out there looking for a restoration. All right, the restorationists. So the Church of Jesus Christ wasn't the only one who was proclaiming to be a restored church, or the attitude of others saying there will be a restoration. So again, when they present this idea, it does resonate with lots of people who have that same sentiment at the time. All right. So and here's the next line here. And like I said, if you're on TikTok, uh, I can't share the screen, so just like I said on my YouTube channels for the Love of God Network, there I'm sharing the screen. Um, excuse me, Orson Pratt. Excuse me, the brother Parley P. Pratt. That's the one I can't remember. Orson Pratt, Edward Partridge, and many others had likewise barely been baptized with when their mission calls came. Perhaps there's a lesson in this pattern for us today. If you know enough to accept the restored gospel by baptism, you know enough to share it with others. Isn't that the truth? All right. And most people do. They try to. Here's one of the things that people get caught up in is when they do join the church, they're eager to share the gospel with others. And a lot of times the others are not ready for that message. All right. Just because you embrace it doesn't mean that that others are going to embrace it. People, I think, you know, even I think I don't know if this is true or not. You can tell me right or wrong, but I would say that those who are rejected by their family or shut out by their family because they join the church, I would say that they're probably more ready for the realities of the gospel and how it affects other people, because they had to struggle so much to to embrace the gospel in their own lives, that they were even uh, shut out by their own families. I'm trying to uh, there's another word for it, but anyway. So again, this so they understand the reality, but there's those that are not, that don't have those kinds of hardships in their lives, and so they eagerly go out and say, "Hey, this is the gospel. This is the gospel," and so many people reject it that feel disappointed, and then they become what would you say? convinced at times that the gospel is not true, or it's just too hard for them. So believe me, for those who do get baptized into the church, you're going to be rejected more than you understand. And remember always that when Jesus Christ in his ministry, while he was walking the earth, all right, he had a very small following that was really locked in. All right. So he's out there and he fed the multitudes. And the next day they came and trying to see if the master would feed them again. And here he he put them right there in their place. It was like, okay, you're just coming because you didn't care about the miracle that happened yesterday. You got fed, but you really didn't understand the miracle, or you didn't want to see the miracle. All you cared about was getting your bellies filled, and then all of a sudden you come back again today thinking that thing same thing. So then they ask about this idea of entering into the kingdom of God, or being saved or whatever that looked like. I can't remember exactly. But he said, when you eat of my flesh and drink of my blood, and they're like, they scattered, right? And there's only 12 of them left, and he's like, why didn't you guys leave? Where else can we go? There's no other place. We're here, and we have no other place to go. Again, there's given that the Lord himself could not hold on to the masses that was always following him because of the miracles. And when he gave them a hard thing, they weren't prepared for that. Okay. And so many of our brothers and sisters out there that are our brothers and sisters because of our Father in heaven, they're not prepared for the hard things in their lives. So be prepared for that. All right. And do not get discouraged just because people are not flocking into the church. Be encouraged that you are still there, and that you've endured to this moment in your life. All right. So that's the important part. Again, Orson Pratt, Edward Partridge, and many others had likewise barely been baptized when their mission calls came. Perhaps there is a lesson in this pattern for us today. If you know enough to accept the restored gospel by baptism, you know enough to share it with others. And I was just giving you that warning, given that. Of course, we always want to increase our gospel knowledge, but God has never hesitated to call upon the unlearned to preach his gospel. And I'll tell you right now, you know, again, not college educated. I'm not, my story is, when I was growing up, we had a very dysfunctional family. I grew up impoverished. My dad was an alcoholic. My mom wasn't capable of of handling many things in her life. And my great grandmother tried, but she was old, trying to do her best. And I tried to get out of school as much as I could because I wanted to be at home, because at home I was embraced by my dad, who was most of the time there, not really working. Now, he worked a little bit, but not steady, you know. But my brother, he liked going to school because he felt safer there. Um, but again, um, so not a lot of schooling in my younger years. I didn't want to go to school. I felt, inadequate there. That's why I'm so attached to Joseph Smith and his youth, because again I can identify with the way he felt. I can't read well. All right, I do a lot better now, but at the time in my youth, the teachers would ask you to get up in front of the class, and I'd read half of what other kids could do, or my math skills or whatever. So again, it was hard for me to be at school, and I had to go to remedial reading and comprehension. Even whenever I was in the Air Force, they sent me to in basic training. They sent me to remedial reading and comprehension. All right. So I've not learned at all, but the Lord has blessed me for whatever reason to come and provide this dialogue to the audience, and I'm hoping that somehow this will connect with others, and knowing that you don't have to be learned, you just have to be uh, ready to receive uh, the influence of the Holy Spirit to actually speak to those who are asking questions. And all these things that I'm capable of doing are not of me. I guarantee it's not of me. Um, because I don't have that, I've never thought of myself as being somebody of intelligence. I didn't go to college at all, so no college classes. But anyway, for whatever reason, this is where I'm at. In fact, so it says, uh, let's go back a little bit. It says, but God has never hesitated to call upon the unlearned to preach His gospel, and this is in 35:13, section 35:13. It says, wherefore I call upon the weak things of the world, those who are unlearned are despised, to thresh the nations by the power of my spirit. Again, and I feel like that in a lot of ways because, again, my audience I can't get, maybe because I didn't do the hard work to go to college or whatever to become a part of the institution of apologists out there. I'm not an apologist at all. I love the gospel. I love spreading the gospel in the best way I know how. But because I haven't done the hard work to go to school, maybe I am not embraced by very many people. TikTok, it blew up. I'm glad of that. Got my YouTube channel, got 55 subscribers. You know what I mean? So whatever that looks like. But again, because I didn't go to college, maybe I'm feeling left out when it comes to being able to go on to different shows like the Ward Radio or the Thoughtful Saints or places like that, where these people, I've messaged them many a times, and it's like crickets out there. Again, but that's okay. I'm not because they have their work to do and I have my work to do. And somehow we're working together, but separately maybe helps to cause out even more. But again, I'm not complaining. I'm just giving you facts that sometimes the world of education, people who have been educated do look down upon the uneducated, and they don't have appreciation. But again, that declaration from the Lord that just said, I am going to send the weak things out. I'm going to, by my spirit, I am going to, what would you say, tear down your arguments, you know, of your foolishness in your mind. So let's continue on with, again, with the Come Follow Me curriculum. Again, if you're following me on TikTok, we're April 7th through 13th. So, and we're just starting off with the heading there. If you wanted to follow along that way, again on the YouTube channel, it's on the screen. And I'm not trying to get you to the YouTube channel. I'm just trying to illustrate what's going on here. Anyway, and we do that best not in through our own wisdom and experience, but by the power of the Spirit. Is that the truth? And let's go into the faith and fall of Thomas Marsh down here. Let's see what that says. It says here, it says again, the faith and fall of Thomas Marsh. It says a few stories, and this is K. Dorowski. All right. A few stories from the church history have been used as a cautionary tale, uh, as that of Thomas B. Marsh. I'm not sure. Few stories from church history have been used as a cautionary tale as often. Okay, so what they're trying to say, there's few stories that have been church used by the church, but not more so than the story of Thomas B. Marsh, the first to serve as president of the Quorum of the 12 Apostles. Marsh left the church in 1838. Again, this is right around the collapse of the Safety Security Bank, the bank that Joe Smith started with the members, right? Um, and later repented, returning to full fellowship in 1857. His importance in the church, early church, is evidence by his being the sole recipient of two revelations in Doctrine and Covenants and having been specially instructed in four others. Marsh ran away from home at the age of 14 uh, and supported himself with various jobs in Vermont and New York until his early 20s. After he married, he settled in Boston and found work in a type foundry for several years. He studied the Bible and religious sects, but he felt impressed that a new church would arise, which would have the truth and its purity. In 1829, Marsh believed the Spirit of God dictated me a to make a journey west. With a friend, he traveled to western New York and stayed for 3 months. At one point, a woman asked if had heard of the Golden Book found by a youth named Joseph Smith. Marsh became very anxious to know concerning the matter and visited Palmyra. He found Martin Harris and at E.B. Grandin's printing office, where the first 16 pages of the Book of Mormon had just come off the press. Um, because Joseph Smith was in Harmony, Pennsylvania, Harris took Marsh to Oliver Cowdery, who gave me all the information concerning the book I desired. Highly pleased with all he learned, Marsh returned home to Boston and shared his new knowledge with his wife, who also believed it to be the word of be from God. From this time for about 1 year, I corresponded with Oliver Cowdery, and these are the words of Thomas Marsh, obviously, Oliver Cowdery and Joseph Smith Jr., and prepared myself to move west. Marsh wrote, uh, learning by learning by letter that the Church of Jesus Christ had been organized on 6th day of April 1830. He continued, I moved to Palmyra, Ontario uh, County in September, following that following and landed at the house of Joseph Smith Sr. with my whole family. During this month, I was baptized by David Whitmer in Cayuga Lake. And in a few days, I was ordained an elder by Oliver Cowdery with 6 elders at Father Whitmer's house. Later that same month, the second conference of the church was held in Fayette, New York. During the proceedings, Joseph Smith received revelation for 4 individuals, including one for Thomas Marsh, now Doctrine and Covenants 31. Um, the revelation is rich in content. Some wording is similar to other early revelations, and some promises and instructions are personally for Marsh and his family. Marsh was told that he would and his family, yea, thy little ones, would be blessed, and that at that time he had 3 sons, the oldest being 9 years old. Marsh was called to serve as a mission. Now think about this. His oldest child is 9 years old, and now he's asked to go out and be a missionary for years. All right, for however long. And knowing that this is going to put hardship on his wife, because and without his wife being locked in, all right, that she was convinced that the church was true, Marsh could not be successful of removing himself from the situation of his wife and his children, unless there was something uh, significant in his life that uh, that gave him confidence of what he was doing was correct. So Marsh was called to serve as a missionary, and was told that his sins were forgiven. He was counseled to be patient, to rival not, to pray always, and to give heed to the Comforter. The Revelations contain an intriguing promise. Behold, I say unto you that thou shalt be a physician unto the church, but not unto the world, for they will not receive thee. What does that title mean? Was he recognized as a medical doctor to aid members with medical needs? Or was the meaning perhaps more religious in nature? As one called to spiritually minister or heal, there are only two mentions of Marsh helping members with physician ailments, physical ailments, and he had no special medical training. The the term physician of the soul is as old as Socrates, and other churches have used the terms doctors of the church. Doctors of ministry is what I would remind it, or a doctor of the church. Uh, for hundreds of years, the latter part of the verse, but not unto the world, for they will not receive you. Um, adds to the ambiguity, oh, whatever, you know what I'm talking. It's fate. It's but uh, anyway, so we're studying the Come Follow Me curriculum. We're doing this live on TikTok and on YouTube. It's if you want to join me on YouTube, it's the For the Love of God Network. Again, but I'm willing to. I love doing TikTok because I have a lot more followers there. And again, if you share this video, like this video, subscribe to the channel, go ahead and hit the bell notification and leave a comment and let me and help me. If you have something to say, I can. And TikTok, I'm going to learn how to deal with more of that. I'm going to have to just go on YouTube or something to learn how I can see your comments when they do come. Again, I'm doing that on my phone, so it's a little bit. Eventually, I'll get my laptop set up and have, you know, more opportunities to become more proficient over TikTok doing these things. So anyway, let's go ahead and continue on with the story. You can read along in the Come Follow Me curriculum where in April, uh, oops, that was April 7th through the 13th. All right. So, and we're in Thomas B. Marsh's, uh, uh, we're, uh, we're reading about him, a faithful servant. There's a there is every indication that for several years Thomas Marsh humbly followed the counsel he received. He was ordained a high priest in 1831 and served missions in 1831 and 1832. He moved his family to Zion, Jackson County, Missouri. Now you talk about a willing man who stayed in the church until 1838, you know, on a dispute of the milk kind of thing. But they moved to Jackson County, Missouri, where they were again not loved at all. They were hated, and he had to put out so much to to get through so much. So anybody that left the church at that time after they'd been to Missouri, I can understand, you know. In 1832, settled in the Big Blue River and served as branch president of the Big Blue Branch. Along with others, members of the church, he was forced out of Jackson County in 1838, excuse me, 1833, and moved to Lafayette County for the winter, and then on to Clay County. He was called to be to the High Council in Missouri in 1834. I believe David Whitmer was in charge over there too, and named uh, 1834, and named with others to receive an endowment of spiritual power in the house of the Lord in Kirtland, Ohio, which was then under construction. Agreeable to Revelation, Marsh left for Kirtland in January, leaving his family, January 1835, preached along the way, and arrived in April. Unbeknownst uh, to him, during his travel, had been called to the newly organized Quorum of the 12 Apostles in February. Shortly after his arrival in Kirtland, he was ordained to the quorum. By seniority, in Revelation, he was named president of the quorum, even though he was still a relatively young man, about 35 years old. The next month, Marsh had and others members of the 12 left on a mission to the eastern states, returning in September and winter that fall and winter. He attended the elders' school and Hebrew school in Kirtland and participated in spiritual preparations for the endowments of power anticipated with the dedication of the house of the Lord in Kirtland. Marsh attended the dedication on March 27th, 1836, as well as the solemn assembly 3 days later. The following month, he began a trek back to his family in Missouri. I was questioning that. I was like, this guy away from his family all this time? Yeah, he was. That's a long period of time. Again, when you know something is absolutely true, and your wife knows that that is locked in too with that, then you are capable of fulfilling the role that God will invite you into. And again, that's uh, reading the story really gives us a sense of the dedication that Thomas Marsh had, and he was very well. Like I said, he was a learned man in the Bible before he joins, and then he was convinced that the church was true after he was given 16 pages of the Book of Mormon. And again, the church hadn't been organized yet, but he understood that Joseph Smith was his prophet. The following month, he began a trek back to his family in Missouri, preaching as he traveled. And I want to remind you, when I'm doing this in the morning time, I'm taking opportunity to put the yoke of Christ upon me, so that when I go into the world and and I have to go through, difficulties in my life, I know that the strength of the Lord is with me, and I can feel the love that He has always whenever I'm going through difficult things in my life. Again, so I wake up in the morning with the Lord every morning, and I do this, and and because I'm doing it online, it just continues to embolden me to continue on. Uh, and I appreciate those who are attending at this time and listening to me, and hopefully um, that today that you are blessed by this offering that I'm giving today. Anyway, so it says the following month he began, and we're learning together. This is a time that I'm using to learn the details of the gospel and the history of the gospel. I've been doing this for over 100 days straight, except for one day where I had a family trip and my wife asked me one day. All right. So that was like last week or whatever, a couple of weeks ago. But anyway, what I'm saying is I love this. And what I'm doing is I'm learning as I go through this. So I'm reading this stuff live for the first time and excited about what I'm reading here. And it's not that I'm unprepared. This is how I prepare myself for the day, is uh, uh, to uh, present the Come Follow Me curriculum and learn as I'm sharing it with others. But anyway, trouble arises. Let's see, let me go back just a little bit. The following month, he began a trek back to his family in Missouri, preaching as he traveled. From July through September, he visited branches of the church in Illinois, Kentucky, and Tennessee. Trouble arises. By the following year, relationship among the 12 apostles had deteriorated significantly. It was a time to intensify fine conflicts and dissatisfaction within the church in Kirtland. Oh, wow. I wonder why. Among the 12 youth, among the 12, youth and inexperience, a lack of precedence and disagreements about their role and purpose and the bonds of their authority caused disharmony. These difficulties were compounded by distance and communication struggles, as some resided in Kirtland and some in Missouri. And quorum members from both places were often called to serve missions elsewhere. Again, this is a rough. It's rough what's going on here. I'm surprised that this church even survived through the adversity that they've had. But the people, but because the prophet of God was what would you say that the Lord, what would you say, he communicated with these people in person, absolutely in person. There was times that they would be in the prophets, the school of the prophets, and here's the father and son and presenting themselves to certain people in the room. So these people were being locked in not only by the words that Joseph Smith in the Book of Mormon, but they were having these miraculous experiences that is solidifying their testimony of the work that's going on. And again, with that, it allow it, but the Lord is putting them through such a difficult task that I think that only these men could have accomplished, even though that many of them walked away at times, then returned, except for David Whitmer. But again, the witnesses never denied the validity of the how the Book of Mormon uh, was uh, was created. That it was by the power of God that was that was brought forth. All right. So anyway, hoping to bolster quorum unity, Marsh returned to Kirtland in July. Again, walking away from his family, man, and the family's in Clayton County, Missouri, and this is not a good place to be. Eventually, the Huntsville massacre and all that goes on. It's a bad way. Um, anyway, so only to find that some apostles had left for a mission to Great Britain. Oh, so these men who have families now going to Great Britain to a world apart. What dedication. Again, the only reason they were willing to do these things because there was that testimonial that they received by the hand of the Lord personally, only to find that some apostles had left for a mission to Great Britain and several others had apostatized. All right. Seeking counsel, Marsh visited Joseph Smith, who dictated a revelation for him. Now, Doctrine and Covenants 112. The revelation was a source of great guidance and comfort to Marsh, as well as stern admonition, excuse me, not abomination, admonition. Marsh was told that all thy sins are forgiven, and that I, the Lord, have a great work for thee to do. The Lord also told Marsh, I would thy heart, I know thy heart, and have heard thy prayers. Thou art the man whom I have chosen to hold the keys of my kingdom. As pertaining to the 12, and how great is your calling. Yet Marsh was also told there were a few things in his life which I which I, the Lord, was not well pleased. Marsh was counseled to be ye faithful before me, and for he and the 12 to exalt not yourselves, rebel not against my servant Joseph Smith, but to purify your hearts and cleanse your hearts in preparation for proclaiming the gospel. The revelation also included the oft quoted promise, be thou humble, and the Lord thy God shall lead thee by the hand and give thee an answer to thy prayers. The Revelations relationships among the 12 improved for a season. And in July, Marsh, Joseph Smith, and others departed for a mission to Canada, returning to Far West. Missouri, Marsh continued his efforts to strengthen the church and show support for Joseph Smith. A heavy blow to Marsh's family fell the following May, when the second son, James, died suddenly at the age of 14 and after a short illness. Joseph Smith preached his funeral sermon. Now it's getting hard. All right. Now you're losing children. All right. These people surrendered their lives to the gospel and they lost so much, even losing their children. And yet they just still dedicated their lives. Some of them, these things were so overwhelming that they were looking for a way out. It was just too hard for them. And you could understand that the Lord still had mercy on them, because even though they removed themselves from the church, the Lord loved them for all that they had done and could do in the future once they found themselves again, like Oliver Cowdery. It's kind of interesting talking about Oliver Cowdery. What I imagine it does help David Whitmer in his in his testimony going forward, when Oliver Cowdery himself had joined the church again after being excommunicated, that Oliver Cowdery came to him and was trying to convince him to move back to Utah. I'm sure that helped Dave Whitmer solidify a lot of what he knew about the Book of Mormon. Again, re re uh, affirming to him that his experience was real. They probably talked about it ad nauseum about their experiences with Joseph Smith. That was probably the core of their discussion in so many ways, because again, what the because Oliver Cowdery again is over there trying to convince David Whitmer to come back and to go to the Saints in Utah. So what were they going to be talking about for all those times that he was there? Eventually, Albert Cowdery dies, and I believe in David Whitmer's house, you know. But again, with a testimony on his lips. But again, this serves the purpose of the church in so many ways, because these people that left the church returned, a lot of them, and they give us this. And for me, I left the church when I was 17 and returned at 30 something. And these people, over you, even though my story is a little bit different than theirs, of course, a lot different, but their story still gives us a sense of, what would you say, hey, even if you missed church for a little while in your life, if you've been gone for years, months, for weeks, whatever that looks like, you can still return, and the Lord still embraces you. And if you don't return to the church over a lifetime, He still loves you. He's not going to give up on you. That's why the work for the dead is so wonderful in our church. We're never lost to the Lord. It won't be the only time that we're truly lost to the Lord is when we're standing there before the judgment bar of God, and He asked us right there and He says, "Look, I'm your Father. I'm the one who gave you this opportunity to be housed in this flesh and bone. Here's my son. If you accept him as Lord and Savior, you can stand in my kingdoms. And if you reject that offering at that time, he has no other no other uh, option but to put you in a place where because you don't want to be there. You know what I mean? You can't be in a place where you don't want to be, and that's not what he's doing. So that outer darkness thing is something of symbolism, but I think it's a place where you're out of his presence. Let's see where we're at here. Okay. Falling away. Within a few months, Marsh fell prey to a spirit of apostasy, as had many others. He was among several Latter-day Saints who became disturbed by the increasingly violent relationships between church members and their Missouri neighbors. Also contributing to his deepening dissatisfaction was the infamous cream stripping incident. Again, it's the straw that broke the camel's back kind of thing, you know. Um, Deepening dissatisfaction was infamous, uh, the cream stripping incident, which occurred in August or September of 1838. What time is it? I'm getting late. Uh, this is fun. This is a lot of fun. Um, Involving Marsh's wife, Elizabeth, and Lucinda Harris, the wife of George Harris, W. Harris. According to George A. Smith, the woman who had agreed to exchange milk from their cows for making cheese, but counter to their agreement, Elizabeth agreeably kept the cream stripping the richer part of the milk that rises on the top before sending the rest of the milk to to Lucinda. According to Smith, George Albert Smith, is that right? Yeah, George A. Smith. Um, According to Smith, the matter went before the teachers' quorum, then the bishop, and then the high council, of all of whom found Elizabeth to be at fault. Marsh, not satisfied, appealed to the first presidency, who agreed with the earlier decision. Further hurt there by this chain of events, the already frustrated Marsh was said to have declared that he would sustain that he would sustain the character of his wife, even if he had to go to hell for it. Wow. Sometime in fall 1838, Marsh left Far West, uh, his family, and began actively opposing the Saints. He swore out an affidavit in October 1838. And okay, what we're going to do here, we're going to we're going to do this again tomorrow. I'm not going to read the whole story today. It's getting late. I appreciate those who have been following me on TikTok and on YouTube. Again, share this video, like this video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification. I hope that you have been entertained in some way or enlightened, inspired to go out and teach others about the gospel. It's the theme of this week. Again, we are a missionary work church. Again, the church that I go to is called the Missionary Baptist Bible Study. Again, this they are wanting to. They asked me one day about how we are successful. How can they be successful in the missionary work? Well, we got to have that kind of situation that we fell into. People willing to sacrifice all that they had, even leaving their families, in order to spread the word of God. And because of that pioneering uh, uh, influence in our lives, we are willing to. Yeah, it only gives me an hour for live. Uh, Oops. Okay. So, so because of that pioneering experience that we have, and that contributes to us today, to for the young men and women who go out on missions to actually want to engage, to actually want to be a part of the of that um, of that history. They want to link in with that history, the cultural, cultural. That's what I'm looking for. They want to be a part of that culture that has been instilled by the efforts of those who came first and did and sacrificed so much. And that's why we're so successful. Anyway, with that, I know again with all certainty that the church is true, that Joseph Smith did see the Father and the Son, that he did translate the Book of Mormon and many other great works that we have today, and that we have a prophet named Russell M. Nelson who leads and guides this church today. I know these things for a certainty. And I say this in the name of Jesus Christ, amen. And for the love of God, pray often and pray always. And I'll see you tomorrow.